I'm about to go over every single ADHD medication with pictures. The whole point is to make it so that you can make the best choice for you. I'm not a doctor, and this is not advice. I'm just someone with ADHD who coaches people with ADHD, and I'm reviewing this live with you. Now, I'm not going to go over every single detail as I have videos that do stuff like that, but I am going to tell you the ADHD medication list of every ADHD medication that is FDA approved. If they are methylphenidates, amphetamines, or stimulants, I'll show you pictures of what every medication looks like at different doses, the age groups for each medication type, the medications that were discontinued, and we're going to go over the different forms of medications like chewables, tablets, patches, yada yada. This list was very kindly made by Dr. Andrew Adzenys, I think is Adzenys, from the Northwell Health Incorporated, as a visual aid for doctors to study, to help their patients that have ADHD. And one of the other reasons was because he wanted to make it useful for patients that wanted to identify what medications they've tried so that the doctors can know what works and what doesn't. And lastly, he states that this is not for picking and choosing your medications like a candy shop. This is just kind of for learning, getting clarity and understanding, and let's get into it. The first thing we're going to go over is long-acting methylphenidates. Here's the list. We have Concerta, Focalin XR, Contempla XR-ODT. I'm going to pronounce these horribly. Aptensio XR. Name my son that. Quillivant XR, QuilliChew ER, Ritalin LA, and Metadate CD. Cool. Those are just the names. Now we're going to go over the age groups, right? I'm not a doctor, but from what I'm reading, it's showing that if you have a kid that's 6 to 12 years old, the doctor may prescribe around 18 to 54 milligrams. SD means starting dosage at 18, right? That's what SD means. 13 to 17 years old will be 18 to 72 milligrams. And over 18 years old, 18 to 72 milligrams as well, with the starting dose potentially being anywhere from 18 to 36 milligrams. And here's what they all look like. This is the 18, 27, 36, 54, 45, 63, and 72. So that's what they all look like. Very interesting. Focalin XR. If you have a kid that's 6 to 17 years old, the starting dose, SD, would be 5 milligrams. So the doctor could prescribe, it would seem, from looking at this, 5 to 30 milligrams, if that's the age. And 18 years to an adult, they would be a starting dose of 10 milligrams. So they would get anywhere from 10 to 40 milligrams as their dosages. What does it look like? Let's go over it. This is a 5 milligram, 10. They don't have anything in between. 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40. So that's what they look like. Contempla XR-ODT. This is grape flavored. Chewables, it would seem, if you are 6 to 17 years old, the starting dose is that a doctor looks like they will prescribe would be 17.3 milligrams. But it seems like they could prescribe 8.6 to 51.8 milligrams. So precise. And they spend so much time figuring out just the right amount. So it's grape flavored, which makes sense because it's for kids. It seems like, 6 to 17. And here's what they look like. Here's 8.6, 17.3, 25.9, 34.6, but you have 2 of them, interesting. And then you have the same with 51.8. I like how they have the numbers like T2, T3. It just makes things a little easier to notice. Now let's go over the ADHD medication of Aptensio XR. The starting dose would be 10 milligrams, it would seem. That's what SD stands for, starting dose. So a doctor looks like they would prescribe anywhere from 10 to 60 milligrams if you are 6 years old to an adult. So it would be the same no matter what. Here's what they look like. 10 milligrams, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. That is massive. That is a huge pill. Wow. That's a huge, huge pill. The pills I took, I feel like one of the pills I took was that large. It felt enormous and difficult to swallow. And wow, it's a lot for a kid to take, but I don't think they're going to get that. Don't know though, not a doctor. Let's go over Quillivant XR medication. So these are banana flavor, which I assume means that this is good for kids, but I guess it could be for apparently adults. So the starting dose could be 20 milligrams. That's what it seems. You would take this if you are 6 years old to adult, and you would get anywhere from 20 to 60 milligrams. Now this is a bottle. This is a liquid. These are not chewables or anything like before. Here's what they look like. 10 milligrams, right? One bottle. You can read that. This is the 20 milligram, 30, 40, 50. It seems like from 40 to 50, oh, and 60 even, 60. From 40 to 60 milligrams, you would get 2 bottles. That makes sense, okay. So yeah, just expect to drink a lot of banana flavored liquid. Sounds interesting. Now let's go over QuilliChew ER ADHD medication. There's not a whole lot of options here. So these are cherry flavored, and these are chewables, it seems. So from 6 years old to adult, you would be getting 20 to 60 milligrams as what the doctor would prescribe. The starting dose would be 20 milligrams. So here's what they look like. They only have 20, 30, and 40 milligrams here, as you can see, and they just look a little bit different. This one doesn't have that little crack in the middle. All right, let's go over Ritalin LA ADHD medication. The starting dose a doctor looks like they would prescribe is 20 milligrams. If you're taking this and you're 6 to 12 years old, it seems like there's no other option for adults, so I guess this is more for kids, is 10 to 60 milligrams. Here's what they look like. 10 milligrams, 20, 30, 40, and 60. There you are. So just to identify them, that's what they look like. Now let's go over Metadate CD. So the starting dose would be 20 milligrams, it would seem, and the doctor prescribes it to 6 to 17-year-olds. It seems like they would prescribe 10 to 60 milligrams. Here's what they look like. Here's a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. So interesting how the pills are different colors. It's just, it's kind of beautiful. It's like, wow, look at all that. Now let's go over Azstarys. I think that's how you pronounce it. I am so not a doctor here. I'm just reviewing, but we have basically the starting dose would be 39.2 or 7.8 milligrams. That would be the starting dose, it would seem, for 6 to 12-year-olds. Then they would go, basically for 6 to 12-year-olds, they would prescribe this much. Then from 13-year-olds to adults, a doctor would start the dosage out here and pretty much be in between here. Here's what they look like. Not a lot of options here. So the lowest dosage, medium dosage, and the highest. Wow, these are pretty. I don't know about the gray. That looks kind of gross to swallow. Like, can you imagine if all food was gray? But the purple and this kind of coral color, I don't know, I feel fancy because my wife teaches me color names. My inner guy would just say, that's orange. Thanks to my wife, I can now say other prettier colors than just orange. So thank you. And the last long-acting methylphenidate is Jornay. Whoa, we are halfway there, living on a prayer. Starting dose would be 20 milligrams. 6-year-olds to adults basically would get this, and doctors look like they would prescribe it for the evening from 20 milligrams to 100 milligrams. Here's what they look like. Wow, this is beautiful. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. I'm telling you, look at the size. That is massive. That's the biggest pill I've ever seen. How in the world can you swallow this? See, this is why I'm filming this. Because I remember when I was a kid, I took pills, I think about this size, that color, maybe even that. But that, for a 6-year-old, I don't think that's gonna happen for a 6-year-old. They usually don't go that high with milligrams for kids. That is huge. That is like twice the size of that. That's, wow. Why? Like, why, dude? Let's go over the ADHD medication methylphenidates that are short acting. So we have Focalin, Ritalin, Methylin chewable, and Methylin solution. No, it's not like meth, okay? It's not the same. So I'm not a doctor, just putting that out there. This is not me telling you what to do. The starting dose, it seems, would be 2.5 milligrams that your doctor could prescribe, it would look like. So from 6 to 17 years old, it seems like the doctor would prescribe 5 to 20 milligrams. Here's what they look like. 2.5, 5, and 10. I'm assuming, and I could be totally wrong here, since they prescribed 5 to what was it? I'm guessing that this wouldn't be something you'd start with, but it seems like they would add this with something. I could be totally wrong. Do not take my advice for that. And these are short acting, which means they just don't last that long. And you may have to take multiples of them if you want it to last longer. Now let's go over the ADHD medication Ritalin, which is a methylphenidate, and it is short acting, right? So the doctor would start the dosage at 5 milligrams if you are 6 to 12 years old. They would prescribe anywhere from 10 to 60 milligrams, it would seem. Adults would be prescribed the same amount. Here's what they look like. Here's the 5 milligram, 10, and 20. So they're just little tiny pills, super small, which is an enormous difference between this big bubba of Jornay PM. Cray. Like, that's crazy, man. Okay, now we're gonna go over the grape flavored Methylin chewable ADHD short acting medication. It's a methylphenidate, of course. So it seems that doctors would start you out at 5 milligrams if you are 6 to 12 years old, and you would get 10 to 60 milligrams. And if you're an adult, you would get 10 to 60 as well, same thing. These are grape flavored and they are chewables. Here's what they look like. You get 2.5, 5, or 10. So they just kind of look like gum. Not gonna lie, looks like something I'd pick up at the grocery, but it's not. That's so interesting. I love all the different shapes and colors, like it's just crazy. It reminds me of the Tide Pods, like how it looks like candy. Don't eat Tide. Now let's go over the last short-acting methylphenidate, Methylin solution grape flavor. So it's a solution, which means it is a liquid. And that means that, let's see, so starting dose would be 5 milligrams that the doctor would prescribe you at if you are 6 to 12 years old. They would prescribe 10 to 60 milligrams if you were an adult or a kid. And here's what they look like. There's only 2 different things. You don't actually get a spoon. It's weird because up here they show the actual liquid. I don't know, I guess they changed their branding or something. Maybe they don't want you to see their art because it's so ugly. I don't know, but y'all get a spoonful liquid, and it's grape flavor. So if you like grape, then this won't be so hard to go down. On to long-acting amphetamines. So if you've tried all those methylphenidates or any of those and you just don't really like it, your doctor may switch you to amphetamines. They usually start out with methylphenidates first because it's been around longer, tested and tried better. I'm not a doctor, but let's go over these. So we have Dyanavel XR, Mydayis, Adzenys XR to ODT, Adderall XR, and Dexedrine Spansule, am I saying that right? And different forms of Vyvanse. So that's pretty interesting to know. See, I didn't know that. This is helpful to know that there's so many forms of something. If you don't like taking a pill, looks like there's chewable. Okay, so let's go through Dyanavel XR. So the starting dosage would be 2.5 or 5 milligrams, and it's for 6-year-olds to adults, and the doctor would prescribe, it would seem, 2.5 to 20 milligrams. Here's what they look like. They are in forms of 5 milligram, 10, and 15. And oh, here's a 20. They made it pretty easy not to get mixed up and to know exactly what you're taking, which is nice. So you don't get mixed up with other pills that look exactly like that. It's like the very stereotypical pill that's made out of chalk, it would seem. Oh, and the cool thing about it though is it's bubblegum flavor. It seems like this would be more useful for someone that is a kid, bubblegum flavor, or if you just cannot stand pills. I don't know. They come in these very interesting little things here, so you can get the exact dosage, I would assume. Here's what they look like. You fill it up to a certain point. Yeah, that's a lot. Wow. It's like a full glass. Thank God this is not injecting you with it. It'd be so stupid. Injecting yourself with bubblegum flavored things. That would be dumb. That's not what this is. This is not injecting your skin, just letting you know it looks like it. That's not what this is. This is basically just what you would, I assume, put in a spoon and take, or put in your mouth and take. Now let's go over the amphetamine that's long-acting called Mydayis. So this is an ADHD medication. The starting dose would be 12.5 milligrams that doctors would prescribe if you are 13 to 17 years old. And they would prescribe anywhere from 12.5 to 25 milligrams. If you're an adult, they would start the dosage out the same, and really it would just go from 12.5 to 50 milligrams. Here's what they look like. So, oh my gosh, I love this color. If I could be a pill, I think I'd be one of these because they look beautiful. 12.5 milligrams, 25. I have a thing for teal though. 37.5, very strange number, but they do the math, makes sense. Oh my gosh, whoa, 50 milligrams. Look at the size of that. Ain't she a beaut? Oh, I don't think I can handle her. She's a big lassie, she is. I just mixed up like Australian and Irish. What the hell am I doing? What am I doing? What are they doing? Look at the size of this thing. Freaking look at it. And this is from what age? 13 year, what? Dude, I don't think a 13-year-old would get 50 milligrams. I don't think I could take something that enormous. That is huge. What is that, a purse? And you open it up and it has little pills inside of it? There's no way someone could just take that. There's no way. Apparently people do though. Now that's a hard pill to swallow. Can you swallow that? That is the biggest pill I've ever seen. Look at all the other pills. I mean, there's some big babies like this one right here, Jornay PM. That was huge. I think this one's about the same. Yeah, they're about the same. It's huge. My goodness gracious. Now let's go over the amphetamine that is long-acting, called Adzenys XR-ODT. It would seem the doctor would start out the dosage at 6.3 milligrams if you are 6 to 12 years old, and they can go anywhere from 3.1 to 18.8 milligrams. If you're 13 years old, they'd start it about the same, exactly the same. And 13 to 17, they would prescribe it. That's so interesting. That's the first time I've seen that. I've just gone through all of these, but this is the first time I'm seeing that the dosage would go down. Now this would be so interesting if I can get a doctor to hop on here and talk to me with this. 3.1 to 12.5. So if you're younger, you would take more. Well, you could take more. This is interesting. 12.5 is just what you get in general if you are an adult. And so basically all of these are orange flavored. They look like little oranges. They should put little tiny leaves on it. Here's what they look like. 3.1, 6.3, 9.4, 12.5, 15.7, and 18.8. These are very interesting. And it's nice because you can tell the dosage by A1, A2, A3, A4, all the way to A6. So that makes life a little easier. So I'm glad these are chewables because that would be very hard to swallow. Tough pill to swallow. Let's go over the ADHD amphetamine medication that is long-acting called Adderall XR. Very popular medication. The starting dose would be 10 milligrams. It would seem that doctors would prescribe if you are 6 to 17 years old, and they would prescribe anywhere from 5 to 30 milligrams. Now, if you're an adult, the starting dose would be twice the amount, starting dose at 20 milligrams, and they would prescribe up to the same amount. So here's what they look like. Man, they're getting really creative with how pretty these look. Like, look at this. Wow. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. That's what they all look like. So it's interesting so you can tell what they're at. This is pretty. I just like the teal ones. Let's go over the amphetamine ADHD medication that is long-acting called Dexedrine Spansule. I don't think that's how it's actually pronounced. I'm just making it sound better than it is. So it looks like it is for 6 to 17-year-olds. And the starting dose a doctor would prescribe, it would seem, would be 5 milligrams. And it looks like they give it to you 1 to 2 times per day, which is interesting because long-acting medications don't usually, it doesn't seem like you take them multiple times a day. You usually just take one and it lasts the whole day, but depends how long they last. That's the thing. Like Strattera lasts all day, 24 hours. Up to. So you only need to take it once. But this is interesting. So we have 5, 10, and 15 milligrams. So we don't really have to take many different kinds. That's interesting. Okay. There's less types than normal, but it's very interesting looking. It's kind of like this Ron Burgundy color. And the very last amphetamine that is long-acting, Vyvanse. Very, very popular. I made a video on this where I go through this in detail even more. Very popular video. So there's many different forms of this, which is great. So it seems like doctors would prescribe a starting dose of 30 milligrams, no matter how you take it. So there's capsules and chewables. The chewables are strawberry flavor. That's the best flavor I've seen yet. We've seen orange, bubblegum. Bubblegum's pretty good, but it doesn't actually taste like bubblegum. It just tastes like medicine. So orange, bubblegum, grape, and now strawberry. So anywhere, whether being 6 years old to an adult, you will be prescribed anywhere from 10 to 70 milligrams. Here's what they look like. So remember, top row is capsules, bottom row is chewables. 10 milligrams, right? 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. Oh my gosh, and a 70. I think that's the most I've ever seen. And what's interesting about that, this is interesting. This 70 milligram one, that looks like a basketball player logo color combo is 70 milligrams, but look at this big hubba bubba. That's 50 milligrams. And this is like half the size. This guy can eat this guy for breakfast, but this has more. So that's interesting. So just know that just because something has more milligrams, it doesn't mean it's going to be bigger. So that's good to know. So you can ask your doctor about that and say, hey, I had this misconception that if it has more milligrams, it's going to be a bigger pill. not necessarily the truth. So if you're taking high doses in a medication, but you don't like how big the pill is, you can say, hey, I've seen a chart that shows other medications that are actually smaller with more doses in them. Can you show me just what those are and explain them to me? Or you can take a chewable. So you get 60 milligrams with a chewable right here. That's pretty interesting. This chart really would help me so much if I could just have seen it and educated myself, which is why I'm helping you do the same. Now let's go over the short-acting ADHD medications, amphetamines. Evekeo would be a cool nickname for someone, like some badass guy who has no last name. Evekeo. Evekeo ODT, Zenzedi, that sounds like a Dragon Ball name. Adderall, and ProCentra. Let's go over the ADHD medication Evekeo, which is a short-acting amphetamine. So the starting dose a doctor looks like they prescribe would be 2.5 milligrams, and they'd give it to you once per day. If you are 3 to 5 years old, that's the youngest I've seen on all of the medications so far on this chart. Usually medications start at 6. So to see a 3 to 5 year old, that's very interesting. Very interesting. And the starting dose, if you are 6 to 17 years old, which looks like that's who it's for, would be 5 milligrams, and they give it to you 1 to 2 times per day. And they can give you up to anywhere from 5 to 40 milligrams. Here's what they look like. That's a 5 milligram, that's a 10. That's it? No. Wait. So you're telling me, hold on a second. Imagine this for your kid, 6 to 17 years old. And let's say that your ADHD was so bad that you needed 40 milligrams. That means you take 4 of these. These are 40 milligrams. You just take 1 pill right there, right? So this, to get 40, you'd have to take 4. That's crazy. That's nuts. And 1 to 2 times per day, that's 8 of these. Good luck getting your kid to do that. So I'm really glad I'm reviewing this because this is an eye-opener for me. Oh my goodness. Okay, so now let's go over Evekeo ODT for this. The starting dose would be 5 milligrams, 1 to 2 times per day. 6 to 17-year-olds as well would be 5 to 40, so it's the same amount of milligrams. Everything's pretty much the same except for the 3 to 5. Okay, so Evekeo ODT. ODT, from what I understand, and I could be totally wrong, means that they dissolve really quickly without the need of water. They just dissolve in the tongue. So the information is the same as it is here. They come in these forms of 2.5 milligrams, 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, 15, and 20. It's nice because they actually put the amount on each medication, so that's nice. Let's go over the short-acting amphetamine ADHD medication, Zenzedi. Sounds like a Dragon Ball name. This is a badass name. The most badass of all names for medication. And the shapes are so interesting. I did not expect it. This is the first one that has a triangle shape. This is so weird. These are like infinity stones. Like, what the heck? I swear. These are seriously like infinity stones. This is so interesting. Like, whoever made this up watches a lot of anime or reads a lot of manga, or, I don't know, reads a lot of comics. I almost guarantee it. The starting dose a doctor would prescribe, it seems, would be 2.5 milligrams, and they'd give it to you once per day if you are 3 to 5 years old. So that's another one. What seems interesting about this, which I didn't see for methylphenidates, is amphetamines are the only ones that seem to have options for 3 to 5 year olds. That is so interesting. All the methylphenidates are 6 years and up. If you are 6 to 16 years old, you would get 5 to 40 milligrams. The starting dose would be 5 as well. Well, 5, which is twice the amount of a 3 to 5 year old. And you get 1 to 2 times per day. Here's what they look like: 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 15, 20, and 30. I'm sorry. It just looks like I don't know, their last job was working in a jewelry shop. That's option A. Okay, option B is that they watch way too much Marvel stuff. This person looks like they read the actual comics, or that they just are obsessed with manga and they wanted to make some sort of powerful jewels and turn them into pills that give you powers. It's just so interesting. Like, look at this. This is awesome. You know what? I applaud them. Good for you. Good for you. You made a badass name for a medication. If I had to take something called Zenzedi and like it looks like infinity stones, I would be kind of stoked just to see what happens. Does one accidentally give me super strength? Oh, and this one gives you super speed. Just like, this is fun. Now let's go over one of the most popular ADHD medications that's short acting and is an amphetamine, Adderall. The starting dose would be 5 milligrams, 1 to 2 times per day given, and they can give you up to 40 milligrams. Here's what they look like. So 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15, 20, and 30. It's interesting how they changed the colors. I do like how they, again, put the numbers on there, so it's nice so you can know exactly how many milligrams they are. Not all medications are that obvious, and they don't all do that. Now let's go over the last amphetamine that is short-acting, ProCentra, which is an ADHD medication. So they have options for 3 to 5-year-olds. The starting dose would be 2.5 milligrams, and they give it to you 1 time per day. If you were 6 to 17 years old, you would get 5 to 40 milligrams, and the starting dose would be 5 milligrams, and you would get it 1 to 2 times per day. So 5 to 40 milligrams. There's no other options here. It looks like you would just get 5 to, like, just that. Wow. 5 milligrams. Can you imagine? So look at that spoon. You get a spoonful of 5 milligrams up to 40. Wow. That's a lot. It's a lot of spoonfuls of a liquid. Just letting you know. However, the cool thing about this, there's one cool thing. It's bubblegum flavor. So bubblegum flavored medication. ProCentra is a liquid. Good to know. See? You don't have to take capsules for everything. Good to know. The non-stimulants, we have Onyda. I'm totally probably butchering that name. Kapvay, Intuniv, Strattera, and Qelbree. Qelbree? It's weird. There's no U after, so I don't know how to pronounce it. But some of these are very popular. Kapvay, Intuniv, and Strattera are very popular non-stimulants. Let's go through the non-stimulant ADHD medication, Onyda. Onyda XR. If you are 6 to 17 years old, the starting dose would be so tiny. Wow, that's the tiniest amount I've ever seen. Like, we just went through a ton of stuff. Wow, 0.1 milligrams. And you give it at bedtime. So they just show different spoonfuls you give. Just shows imagery wise on their chart here. And the cool thing is it's orange flavor. So orange is a pretty good flavor, I would think. I feel like for some reason, I love bubblegum flavored candy, but bubblegum flavored medicine is disgusting. It just, I mean, for me personally, it just doesn't taste like bubblegum. I don't even think the sound of swallowing a liquid, like drinking bubblegum, sounds very good. It does not at all. So orange is probably your best bet. Now let's go over the ADHD non-stimulant Kapvay. So if you are 6 to 17 years old, your starting dose your doctor would probably prescribe would be 0.1 milligrams, which is extremely tiny. Compared to stimulants, you get a whole lot more. I'm assuming it's because it's a non-stimulant, but I don't really know because I'm not a doctor. Kapvay is very interesting. Normally, you go anywhere from like 5 milligrams to like 70 for a lot of medications for ADHD. This is interesting. So it's an extended release, which means it lasts longer. And it's for 6 to 17-year-olds, so it's not like it's for 3 to 5-year-olds, but it is for kids. But the starting dose is, like, this is crazy. So 0.1 to 0.2 milligrams is all you basically get. Yeah, there's only one form, and it's a 0.1 milligram, tiny little pill. That's very, very interesting. How does it have that much power at that? That's crazy. Wow, that's very interesting. I would ask your doctor about that. Let's go over the ADHD non-stimulant medication, Intuniv. This is a very popular one, guanfacine. So if you are 6 to 12 years old, the starting dose would be 1 milligram. You get 1 to 4 milligrams. If you're 13 to 17 years old, your starting dose would be the same, but you can get up to 7 milligrams. So here's what they look like. It looks like someone turning into the Hulk, pretty much. That's a good way to see it. The more hulky you want to get with the effects of this thing, the more milligrams you get. Hopefully they don't have the same effect, but very interesting. Let's go over the non-stimulant ADHD medication, Strattera. Very, very popular. My video on Strattera that goes more in depth in this did really well because a lot of people are taking it and they're very curious about it. So let's see. This is getting complicated looking. So basically, you're not supposed to exceed 100 milligrams of this. That's a ton. Wow, that's the most milligrams I've ever seen. The most I've seen for any stimulant is 70 milligrams. So as a non-stimulant, that's crazy that you can get up to that amount, to 100 milligrams. Wow. So you take it less than 3 days. Interesting. So here's what they look like. 10 milligrams, 18, 25, 40, 60, 80, and 100. Big baby. Those are huge. Oh my goodness gracious. That is enormous. How do you swallow that? My goodness. Like, is that just like a coin purse with tiny little pills inside? I just don't get how you can take that. Like, is that really it? Oh my gosh. Qelbree, I think is how you pronounce it. The non-stimulant Qelbree. This is the biggest freaking pill I have ever seen in my life. I just went through a ton of ADHD medications, but none are like this. It's probably because of how many milligrams are in it. Wow. Oh my gosh. So just for size comparison, check this out. So if you're 6 to 11 years old, you would get a starting dose, it looks like, of 100 milligrams. and you can get up to 400 milligrams. If you're 12 to 17, you start at double the amount, and you can go anywhere from 200 to 400. And adults also start at 200 milligrams, but you, go up to 600 milligrams. I feel like I'm watching Dragon Ball right now, and I'm just like, impossible. The medication's over 300. It's over 600 milligrams. Dude, that's insane. Look at these. I mean, they're beautiful pastel colors. That's nice and all. Not that that's gonna matter. So glad that's not a suppository, is it? I don't think so. No wonder I've never heard of this pill. Look at that. 100, 200, 300, 400. You're gonna take more. Look, if you were prescribed 600 milligrams, that'd be absolutely insane. But if you did, you'd have to take these two enormous guys. And then you'd also have to take another, just 3. That's insane. Imagine if you had to be taking more a day. I don't think you would. I don't think that's legal. That's insane. How do you do that? Like I said, again, I love the pastel colors, but that is, you gotta be kidding. You're kidding me, right? This is just Daytrana. Daytrana, it's so interesting. Daytrana has a patch option. So Daytrana is patches. It's a patch. Sounds like a dog, patches. Starting dose, a doctor would prescribe, it would seem, would be 10 milligrams. And they come in different sizes depending on the milligrams, just like with a lot of the medications, but not all of them do that. So if you're 6 to 17 years old, it seems like that's who it's for. You would get 10 to 30 milligrams. Here's what they look like. The 10 milligram is 15. Wow. So you got 10, 15, 20, and 30 milligrams. And it looks like they last 9 hours, or you wear it for 9 hours, not quite sure. Now let's go over the discontinued ADHD medications. This was updated in September of 2024. So the medications that got discontinued are Adzenys XR, Adzenys ER, which is a liquid, Silert Pemoline, Dexedrine Spansules, that are 5 milligrams and 15 milligrams, Dexedrine tablets, Dexostat tablets, liquid ADD solution, Metadate CD capsules, Metadate ER tablet, that's 10 milligrams, Methylin chewable tablets, no, it's not meth, different, get it out of your head, Ritalin LA capsules that are 60 milligrams, and Ritalin SR tablets that are 20 milligrams. Wow, I learned a lot. That was crazy. Like, I feel really glad that I looked at this whole list because I had no idea that there were such massive pills. Okay, the things I learned that I didn't know before. First off, there are so many different shapes and sizes. So if you are having a hard time swallowing one kind of pill, talk to your doctor about different kinds. Because apparently there's some where you can get more milligrams that are smaller or the same size as the previous milligrams. So I didn't know that. That's very interesting. There's also a lot of chewable options. There's a lot of different flavors for things. Another really interesting thing I learned that I didn't know before was that if you have a 3 to 5-year-old, the only option you have for their ADHD is a short-acting amphetamine. Very, very interesting. There's all kinds of different shapes and colors. And you know what? No wonder they chose all those colors and shapes for Zenzedi, because it's for kids. I knew that there were patches available, but it's interesting to see that there's different milligrams for patches. I also lastly did not know how massive some of these pills were and how you have to take multiples of some of them. Like, blew my mind. Just absolutely massive. I had not a clue. Wow. So if you have to do that, then definitely talk to your doctor and you can ask them, hey, are there other options for me? Can I see the chart? It's just crazy. You know, there's also liquids, which is nice. Different flavors. We learned all the different flavors. There's all different sizes of pills. There's small, medium, large, and hell no. I actually have a link in the description below where you can download this entire medication sheet. Feel free to download it. Also, if you want ADHD coaching, go ahead and click the link in the description below as well. Later, neighbors.